Welcome to the Jaron Jarvis channel. I am Jaron Jarvis. Today, I would like to introduce to you, The Mirror Doesn't Lie. Though it may be hard to imagine, you must understand that I, too, was once a little girl, sewn together out of lace and frills and Barbie dolls with their hair cut into mayhem with my safety scissors. I had an extraordinary fondness for tea parties. I wanted to grow up to be a ballerina. It is imperative that you know this. That I was not always what I am today. No, I had all the markings of girlhood. I spent many days in what I guess was a happy enough childhood. I had dreams. I had nightmares. Most people grow out of their nightmares. Those of us who don't either succumb to them or become them. I cannot say that I am sorry for becoming so many people's nightmare. The seeds of my future were sown when I was 11 years old. When my mother cried, I could hear it from my room down the hall, even when she was trying to be quiet. Our walls were thin. She didn't cry as much when I was young, but the older I got, the more frequent her tears. That night when I heard her crying, I padded on bare feet down the hall. I opened the wooden door just as I heard my father throw a bottle against a wall downstairs. The shattering noise was deafening as I peered inside. My mother sat at her vanity. It was a beautiful piece of furniture that her mother had handed down to her. I would inherit it, too, one day. She stared into the mirror, tears streaming down her face and making tracks in the foundation she was layering onto her cheek. I could see a light blue blooming across her face. When the bruise developed fully, all the makeup in the world wouldn't hide it, but that didn't stop her from trying. She saw me peering at her and motioned me over. I walked close, a little afraid for the calm on her face, so incongruous with her tears, and she pulled me into her lap. She smoothed out my mess of brown hair and picked up her makeup blush. She held out her blush palette for me to choose the color. When I did, she began to apply it to the apples of my cheeks with a steady hand. I settled quietly in her lap, enjoying the soft sweep of the brush against my skin. I loved when my mother let me play with makeup. As she put down the brush and chose a tube of lipstick, bright red, just the color I would have picked, she said, "Rona, there are certain things a woman needs to know in this world. Today I'm going to tell you one of them. No matter how you think you can trick it, with makeup, new dresses, fancy jewelry, the mirror never lies." My eyes slid up to meet my mother's. She painted quite a picture, the bruise on her porcelain skin, the tears clumping in her eyelashes, her lip trembling from the strain of holding back her sobs. Yes, mother. The mirror never lies. Never once have I been able to forget that lesson. For a few months after that, I was very interested in mirrors. Whenever I was alone in the house, I would run to my mother's vanity and stand in front of it, my pale face encircled in the gilt frame as I cast my words like magic. "Does Eddie from school have a crush on me?" The mirror didn't answer. "Is there really buried treasure in the backyard, like Uncle Rob said?" The mirror didn't answer. "Why won't Mom and Dad stop fighting?" The mirror didn't answer. Gradually, I stopped asking my questions, realizing that I'd only ever see my own thin face staring back at me. Instead, I tried a different approach. I studied the face in the mirror, reading between the lines on my mouth and around my eyes. I looked for hints and secrets bubbling underneath the surface of my skin. Sometimes I found things. Sometimes I didn't. But I never stopped looking. I inherited the vanity. I am an only child, so there were no other sisters to fight with me about it when my mother passed away. Well, no. She didn't pass away. That doesn't seem like the right word for it. When somebody wraps their tongue around the barrel of a gun and swallows lead, do they really pass away? No, I think that's just called dying. I think her death was all the worse because she had to be drunk to do it. See, when someone commits suicide, if they do it sober, leave a note, start selling their possessions. Then maybe, just maybe, you can trick yourself into believing that they were ready for it, that there were no second thoughts. My mother didn't want to die, but she had to. So she hit the booze, missed the spinal cord, and blew out her right cheek along with the back right portion of her skull. So I got the vanity. Which was just peachy, really, because I needed an answer, and the mirror is the only thing in this world that doesn't lie. When someone dies, The first thing people ask is how it happened. There is a hidden question under that: why did it happen? The two are inextricably linked, you see. The police determined that she'd been long suffering from depression. That was their why. But it wasn't the right answer. I remembered my mother that night, sitting in front of the mirror, applying makeup to conceal a bruise that she couldn't hide. A futile endeavor. My father is the why. He understands this. I understand this. He does not blame me for hating him, neither does he feel guilt for what he's done. My father is an evil man. But I do not need a mirror to know these things. No, I needed the mirror to tell me about myself. In those strange myriad hours between my mother's death and her eventual burial, I sat and stared into the mirror, my father's indifference soft in the background. My eyes drifted along the sharp jut of my cheekbones, the sallow bags under my eyes, the determined twitch in my eyes. I asked the mirror if I was strong enough. The mirror said yes. 1 week after the burial, I went back home, to my new home, in the city, away from my small family that had grown smaller by one person. I took the vanity with me. A week after that, my father died. Nothing strange about that, really. He'd been an alcoholic for the better part of 20 years. It just got to his heart. The how and the why were both inside the bottle. Except, you and I, we know that's not true, don't we? The why was in my mother's open skull. The how was in the poison I added to his whiskey. I'm surprised that it took him so long to get to that particular bottle, but I am not displeased. The anticipation was sweet. I expected to be caught. I would be the obvious suspect, wouldn't I? I was ready to leave my mirror behind when the law came for me. But they didn't. That night, after telling the police station to do whatever they liked with his body, I stared into the mirror again. In it, I saw my future. With a little care and some tech skills, I was able to build a successful business through the internet. With what all we know about the deepest pits of the web, it shouldn't be surprising to you that I was able to operate mostly undetected. I'm sure I pinged on a few radars, but apparently none important enough to warrant further investigation. My website was simple. Just a black page with a survey. There were only 2 fields. One was for an email address. The other was labeled as a password. In actuality, it was for entering a passcode. If you had the correct code, then your email address would be sent to mine and I could contact you at my leisure. How could people get this code? Whispers in the darker corners of the web. The places people don't like to look unless they need something very, very badly. I was one of those things that people needed. Badly. The code changed every day, of course. And I covered my tracks well. I didn't take every case that came to me. In fact, I took very few. Just as they needed something, I did as well. They needed an extermination, the removal of a problem of a particularly cancerous nature. I needed evil. They would send me the target and any information they had on them. They didn't get to dictate how the job was done, or when. I know many of them would have liked for their targets to suffer. I was not interested in suffering. I was only interested in the extermination. I would conduct research into them and decide if they fit the bill. If they were a true manifestation of evil. People did not come to me lightly. It was well known that I had a special policy. That is, I would conduct research into the person making the request as well as the target. And I would exterminate evil as I saw fit. I do not pretend that what I did was right. I was not interested in being right. I was interested in surgery, which our society desperately needs. The simple fact of the matter is that some people deserve to be removed. I just became the scalpel. There are many different kinds of evil. The one that I sought to destroy was human evil. It is an evil that is prideful, lustful, wrathful, and a million other pieces of shattered glass that human nature is prone to. It is self-centered. There is no empathy, but there is joy. A great delight in what is done. This is the evil that killed my mother. Every kill was the same. Guns, to me, were not possible, because they could be traced. Because they created a dreadful mess. Because they were sacred. My mother, after all, had killed herself with one. Poison was too slow, too obvious. There would be no way to get rid of the body. Besides, poison depends on trust, and that is something I am incapable of on either side of the equation. I settled on piano wire. It's thin and sharp, a knife's edge in a neat coil. It suffocates and it cuts. There is blood, but there is no gore. There is pain, but it is fragile and transient. It is not an easy death, but it is one that comes easy. It was sufficient. My house, if you could get past the police tape to look at it now, is a mess of piano wire. It is beautiful, in its own way. 9 deaths. 2 middle-aged Caucasian males, 1 young adult, female Caucasian, 2 children, 1 Hispanic and 1 Native American, 3 elderly women of Asian descent, 1 elderly man, African American. Race, age, and gender make little difference in surgery. 2 child rapists, 3 budding serial killers with an abundance of tortured animals to their names, 2 child beaters, 2 that committed hate crimes of a particularly grisly nature. Evil exterminated. As I completed my work, I took care not to ask the mirror any more questions. On my mother's vanity it sat, waiting for me to return to its wisdom. For the moment, there was no need. 10 deaths. 1 mistake. She was beautiful, with gold-spun hair and a snort at the end of her laugh. She had long chipped fingernails and milky green eyes. A child molester, and her 8-year-old brother was her victim. But, this time, my research was not impeccable. There were oversights. I didn't see the seams in the fabrication, the undercurrent of hate in the lies. Once I completed my work, the man who had requested my help disappeared. That was when I understood my mistake. That night, I returned to my mother's mirror. I sat in front of it, brushing the blood out of my hair with her long-toothed comb. I waited patiently for my answers. What do you think I saw? There is human evil, this much is easy enough to see. But it is not the only manifestation of evil in the world. There is another sort, one of a darker nature. It lacks the self-awareness of human evil, the need to fulfill one's own desires and bolster one's pride. There is no remorse in this evil, but neither is there joy. There simply is a darkness that takes indiscriminately. I sought to exterminate human evil. In order to do so, I had to become something more. This darker evil, this is what I became. I thought I was just, but I was not. I thought I was society's tool, but I was not. I merely sacrificed my humanity to become this darkness. It was written on my face as I gazed into that mirror one last time. There was nothing human about my visage. There was no love, compassion, hate, fear, desperation. There was only that deep and abiding force to which I had given myself. So I began the writing of this confession. So I turned myself in. I expect that I will die for my crimes. Perhaps this is true justice. I am, after all, another form of evil. Though this evil is more pure, more clean than what I had destroyed, it is evil nonetheless. My case is a mystery to investigators. There is no typical victim, but there is a typical method to their deaths. There is no passion, no fetish. I kept no trophies. There was nothing smug about my confession. Everything was too simple. Evil is like that, didn't you know? Simple. I have seen many psychologists. They want me to be crazy, I suppose. But the definitions of sanity and insanity don't apply to something like me. So, let me leave you as I arrived with this message: no, I don't regret what I did. What I became. It was something preordained, I think, in the way the stars shed life into the earth, in the way the old devour the young, in the way innocent blood feeds humanity. So I can have no regrets. Do you see? I hope I can find a way to post this. To tell the world this story. It will change nothing. It will impact no one. But it will become an inextricable part of reality. This is what reality deserves. Look into the mirror.